Welcome back to the Eric Jr. Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Stiles. I'm joined here by the Creamster and Jacob Klein. We are in the midst of a Carson Wentz saga that just is the
refuses
gift that
to die.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps giving.
And by gift, we mean like eternal torture, like Greek mythology, like ironic, just torture. There's no escaping it. It's getting worse, which I like. From where we were in like week 15, I thought this is pretty bad. I don't know how much worse this could get. It's so much worse, so much worse. The will they, won't they of trading him, where he's gonna go. It's not good. It's not good right now. And I for one, I'm ready to dive headfirst. I'm ready to dive headfirst into it. This is our therapy session. Let's just get it all out. Let's just get it all out there on the airwaves. Jake, are you with me?
I'm certainly with you, and we are back after a classic EJP hiatus following the Super Bowl, where
it's patented. Yeah, I mean,
the unofficial motto is, if the Philadelphia teams aren't involved, then we're kind of out. We can't put our whole weight behind it. But
nothing big happened last week. That's where I'm at.
It goes to show you that it's not going to stay quiet, because this Carson Wentz stuff, I mean, the amount of activity, I'm going to open with this. The amount of activity that I have spent on Stampede Blue and the Windy Gridiron SB Nation sites for the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts.
Man.
I don't want to admit to it. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm legitimately curious. What are they saying out there? What's hot in the streets on those other sites?
Right. In the Midwest.
Do they want him? Do they want him? What's the vibe?
Now with the timing, like with the evolution, they don't have nearly the activity that the Philly sites do in terms of like things being posted. So like, that's shout out, very lively community. But honestly, the Colts stuff is like, I saw most of the comments are like, honestly, the asking price of like 2 seconds and then maybe like a late round pick.
Yeah.
Most of them are like, we have a really good team. And if you have a good line, like this dude can be like good enough to get you to the bowl. Like, so they're pretty positive.
They have a good O-line. They have great running backs, and they'll have money to spend this offseason on a wide receiver. So I get why they would be optimistic, but it is it does remind me of a more naive self, optimistic about Carson Wentz bouncing back.
In terms of the Bears side, that the general consensus, along with Michael Wilbon, is that they've cooled off and they've just recognized that he's not, like, it seems like the comments on most of the articles is just like, this dude is not going to be able to thrive here, and it's just going to be painful, and it's going to be another move that sets like the timeline back of even beginning to be good enough with a really good defense. So it's definitely cooled, man. The gross negligence, the mismanagement of the timing to not strike while the iron is hot before these things strike right away. The moment that the rumors start to swirl, those first couple nights when the interest is at its highest, when people are on their toes thinking, oh my gosh, another big, huge quarterback name is on the move. That's when you had to strike, and we really missed our opportunity. Now it's a matter of, can we save face, get 2 seconds, and walk away from this ugly marriage and move forward with the divorce.
You say strike while the iron is hot. Howie Roseman has let the iron get frostbitten. It is so cold right now. It is in a polar vortex. It is as frozen can be. There is no, like, that's how bad Howie Roseman has fucked this up.
The iron has landed in Houston, Texas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just I thought, like, and this is just going to be a torturous offseason for Eagles fans for numerous reasons. Not just even getting past the Wentz stuff, just having Howie Roseman run the team, knowing like every little thing that's just going to piss us off. It's going to be a real struggle, I think. Just getting through the offseason, getting through this mess, and just like having pride in your team, man. Like, it's tough. It's tough out here right now. Like,
let me give you the Howie Howie devil's
Spin.
advocate here, though.
The spin.
Yeah, the spin zone, the Howie zone, which I eternally live in. I'm a Howieite.
Yes.
I'm a Howie groupie.
He's a truther.
The alternative is the iron was never hot, and it was
That's possible too.
It was them drumming up first round pick
God damn it.
stories and feeding the Keith Pompeys of the world the mouthpiece, feeding people first round
Less
pick
about
rumors to try and budge the offer that was always 2 seconds, and they're kind of just where they were at the start. Like, I totally see what you're saying. It could absolutely be that way, where like the Bears were in and now they're out because you were trying to fumble around with like, ancillary pieces or something. But the whole like harping on a first thing is very possibly just them trying to push the narrative to that. And in reality, you're looking at, like 2 seconds and a sixth or something. And like the Tariq Cohen thing, who knows? I mean, he personally debunked it. He was like, "No, I'm not getting traded." Like the story was, very, very heavy through Schefter and those guys in the beginning. So it is odd, I would say, that somebody of Schefter's level had kind of missed it, like was saying like this week is looking likely, and then it came and went. Typically you're seeing like the local, like Spadero and, Les Bowen or someone getting fed those kind of like, oh, they're searching for a first. But I will say that was abnormal, but like the compensation portion of it, I do agree. I'm surprised that it didn't happen, but the compensation portion, I would say, it could have very well always been lower than what they were trying to push out there.
What is worse? And like what?
Like
what
misplaying the compensation narrative, or misplaying the timing,
or no, just like either like the price was actually that high and we missed it while it was there, or the price was never that high and we're never going to get close to that. Like what?
The first one's worse. The first one's worse.
Yeah, okay.
He is. You could make the case. It's kind of a Howie spin here. You could almost make the case 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe better than one first. Like,
yeah,
like
theoretically,
this roster has a lot of plugs. You need to plug a lot of holes in this
For
sinking ship, and volume might be the way to go here. 2 seconds might be better than blowing one Marcus Smith. So the package of 2 seconds, like if it just kind of boils down to they send them to Indy for 2 second-round picks, it's honestly whatever. Like, I'll be fine with that.
Right.
It's the point that we've reached, and it's been so painful. 2 seconds, I think, is kind of welcomed at this point, and I think where it starts to get interesting is now that you've kind of backed yourself into this corner, do you need to go the more creative route where you're throwing in a Dillard, you're throwing in a Zach Ertz to make a really big move?
That would hurt.
You give up a little bit. You give up a little bit more for slightly better compensation, and you move forward with the first very painful but necessary step in moving forward with the offseason. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, we're sitting at
the Ertz stuff has always been so weird to me too, because like he has been really loyal, and like this training camp he got extremely upset and vocal about his situation, and like mad that A, he doesn't have an extension, and B, he's being shopped. And I get not wanting to do the extension, but he's still valuable, and he's still like very worthwhile to keeping around for like present production. I don't get like how the compensation on the open market is going to be enough for him to like why they've been so aggressive in trying to like kind of get off of him. It's weird to me that a guy who's one of the probably like core 5 players in the clubhouse is being aggressively shopped by them when his contract is pretty affordable, and it's always like don't let him walk for nothing, but like he's one of the like 3 playmakers you have, and is a personnel leader, and he's like one of the people in the locker room that's actually like been very successful here for a long time, and you're just automatically making him upset. So I don't see him coming back at all, man. I do think whether it's in a package with Wentz or not, he's been seemingly upset for 8 months at this point.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time coming, and it's a shame because it seems like this is like the burning of a bridge, right? And he's been a pillar of the franchise since they drafted him, and played such a tremendous role in that Super Bowl, and was good when we didn't have any weapons, right? And he was the only guy, and he was triple covered, and he was still producing. It's a real shame that they've let the relationship get this bad. And you can say the same things about Carson Wentz too. Like it points to like a bigger problem within the organization, like handling these relationships. That the fact that these cornerstones of the franchise are just bolting. They're just like, get me out of here. One way ticket out of here ASAP. That's concerning to me. In addition to all the other stuff, the holes on the roster, the Doug stuff, now the Howie stuff, like it's just every little, like it's an onion. The Eagles organization is just an onion, and every layer is just bad. It's bad. Peel it, keep peeling it, still bad to the core. And it's tough considering where we were just a few summers ago.
Even after we hopefully move on from Carson, this team is several years away from being able to get out from under some of these deals where they've deferred. They've deferred in past years, and we lauded Howie for that cap management and for pushing things down the line. And it's obviously all added up. And with a guy like Ertz, Cream, you're right on the money. It is indicative of a lack of a recognition of hierarchy in terms of recognizing that there's still productivity to be had from him, recognizing that that adds a dimension to your offense, where if you have to score points in the NFL and you don't really have a number 1 wide receiver, having really good tight ends is one of the ways to get around that. And, keep him around for all the reasons you said. It's indicative of the bigger, more institutional, organizational failure. And it just continues. It's just we're down an avalanche right now. And the Wentz move is not going to, get us off from that. But it's the beginning, and it needs to happen. This is ridiculous.
The fact that they have been delaying it so often when it should have just been like a Band-Aid thing, just rip it off.
Exactly.
Is really torturous,
I have a question that I want to lay out, because it's kind of like it's a little sports radio takey, and I'm sure they've actually probably killed it to death. So I apologize to anybody who's like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to this. But we haven't really discussed it. Is Wentz? Are we at the bottom of it? Is Wentz a bad guy? Is this still TBD? we've had the hit pieces. We've had the coachability rumors. I feel like we're not at the bottom of it. He is still a little bit shrouded in does he actually suck behind closed doors to deal with?
It's certainly possible. I don't know. It's certainly possible, but it makes my heart hurt to think about it. It's legitimately where I was literally just before the season with Carson, and where I am now is just, it's tough.
It's that relationship or that engagement in your life where you go into it knowing that there are flaws, knowing that there are patterns of behavior that kind of give you pause. But you move forward with it anyway, and you convince yourself that there's enough, to counteract it and all that. And with Wentz, dude, guys like Jason Kelsey and obviously Ertz, these guys love him. These guys from a regime that is too far in the past, and we're a team that is looking towards the future and needing to hit on a lot of these draft picks and to really reshape our roster, or every position of need almost, basically. So,
Right.
it's in terms of his character and his legacy will be here. Like, it's really hard to not just look at 2017 as what it was, which was a 1 year rocket ship anomaly, and everything else, it's very questionable. You have to look at the other parts, what he had to work with. But, I mean, there's no denying the media manipulation at certain junctures that really hurt the organization, which is a very serious thing to have on your record as a professional athlete.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing with that, too, is both situations have, in Chicago and Indianapolis, have important people in positions that were Eagles associated when Wentz has been here, and Reich and DiFilippo, I believe, like John DiFilippo. So, like, there's definitely insider information on, like, what this guy truly is like in the meeting room. So that could be...
I suppose that's a good sign then, right, for Carson?
That could be a positive.
Frank Wright is, like, willing to work with him again, but, I mean... It's one thing to work with somebody when they're succeeding, and it's, I think we can all understand that, like, when they're not succeeding, a lot of people become a little more difficult to work with. So, Frank Wright and DiFilippo were here in the good times. I don't care about what you're like in the good times, like, what do you like when it's a struggle? What do you like when things aren't going well? I think that's probably a truer measure of what Carson Wentz is like as a teammate and, like, de facto leader of an organization.
The last thing is kind of we'll wrap up the topic on this on the guy who is here, Jalen Hurts. The vibes are good.
Still good, yeah.
The youngins are apparently descending upon Jalen Hurts' compound to catch footballs in shorts. I have absolutely, let me lay this out. I have absolutely zero interest in getting a quarterback in return in any trade scenario.
Yeah.
I don't want Derek Carr. I don't want, Jacoby Brissett coming back the other way. I don't want Teddy Two Gloves, Bridgewater.
Nick Foles? You don't want Nick Foles?
I don't want Nicky Six. I don't want anybody coming back. I want this established. I don't want Zach Wilson at number 6. Go with Hurts. You guys have already made this a big enough mess. Go with Hurts. Succeed or fail with Hurts. The team likes him. He looked pretty good last year. You gave him a second-round pick when you shouldn't have drafted a quarterback at all. Right. Go with Hurts. Don't bring in any more issues with, like, wishy-washy situation. Right. You guys might disagree and be like, well, if, Justin Fields is there at 6, like, you take him. Like, I don't care. Don't take a quarterback.
I feel you, man.
Don't take a quarterback.
It's QB factory fatigue is what it is, and it's Howie Roseman's fault. I totally get you. We'll talk once, like, and I say this hoping to God that this ends soon. Once this Wentz thing is over, we can kind of reassess. There can be some, like, actual like level-headedness talking about the Eagles quarterback situation. Once that happens, I think we can look at it a little bit further. But I agree, like, there is a little bit of quarterback controversy fatigue. I don't, I like I like Hurts. He seems like a good kid, and I'd totally be fine with, like, moving forward with him as the starter. Yeah.
Yeah, get Mike Glennon back in return or something. Where there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about what this is.
Right.
Jake, do Disagree. You're usually one
No.
who's more willing to stir the pot.
Honestly, I want no parts of any of those types of profiles coming back to us. And also doubling down, no part of that at 6. So many holes to fill. You took this dude in the second. He did show you something last year in 4 games. You got to roll with him. This team is not going to get better in 1 year. This is not a 1-year turnaround like we were, with our fantastical thinking a couple years back of, we still got these cornerstones in place, the defensive line, those days are gone,
Right.
So we're a couple years away, and there's no reason to it's similar. This is a totally different analogy, but the Atlanta Hawks this year, where they signed their contracts and they really went for it. They went for it too early. It's kind of the opposite. It's the opposite end of that, where you're far away and you're not going to get your quarterback this year and know definitively and be able to win right away. That's just not the formula. So there's so many other positions you can fill at 6. Literally all of them I would be almost okay with.
Pretty much, all 20.
I don't even know. I honestly don't even. Other than and the funny thing is that Pitts is there at 6, and people are talking about him being an amazing player. You take a tight end at 6, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. We'll talk more about the draft stuff as that season, comes into full force. But I tend to agree with you there. I'm done with I want to wash my hands with it. Let's wash our hands of the Eagles for this. Let's wash our hands of this segment. Do you want to move on?
Cream, these hands are absolutely pristine. These are the most washed hands.
Mine are filthy. They've just been in this Eagles gunk, and I've been trying to dig. I'm trying to, the drain is clogged. Like I'm in it. I just want to wash my hands of it.
So
it's awful.
So visual.
Sorry.
Okay. If you guys want to talk about the 76ers, they have, I wouldn't even say a rough patch. They had just a mediocre road trip. And they've come back tonight. They're hosting the very daunting Houston Rockets, led by Boogie Cousins. And
the island of misfit toys.
Who would you rather have? Would you rather have on this team, before we get into anything else, would you rather have Boogie Cousins or Blake Griffin?
Give me Blake Griffin.
Without looking at any of their stats and having just watched Boogie Cousins play, I think it's got to be Blake Griffin. Yeah.
I'm going to lay it out for you. They're both terrible.
They're both bad. Yeah, no, that's true. That's accurate. They're definitely both a little washed. Although, I mean, Boogie played a little bit better than I gave him credit for. 19 tonight on 6 of 12 shooting. He's not good anymore, but he could do a job, I guess. I'm going to switch my answer. I'm going to say Boogie Cousins.
Oh, my God.
Switch
wow.
my answer.
No conviction.
Doing a flip-flop.
Boogie could, definitely win you a game in the playoffs. In a
just
series
as the backup
center,
and he can shoot threes now. He can shoot.
But I'd rather go with Blake. I think, he could actually. That's why they, kind of projected him to still be able to have some ability to stay in this league. Because he pushed his shot out to the 3-point line, and for a little bit there it was mid-30s, and things were looking up. And he strikes me as a guy that could still thrive in another role. I mean, we all thought Nick Batum was dead. And look what happened when he got to the Clippers. I know it's a different situation.
Not Ray. Ray refused.
Yeah.
Once that stock plummeted, he was like, "I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it just on the off chance that it comes back around."
He's one of my guys. One of my big deals that I would have made. There's teams. I'll always give it to you straight. Am I a better GM than Vlade Divac? Yes, I am.
Maybe.
Yeah, no. I don't take Marvin Bagley at 2.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't ever take Marvin Bagley at 2.
No. No.
This world, not in any world, you take Marvin Bagley at 2. Yeah. So you are in that.
I have Luka Doncic if I'm Vlade. Okay, I'm better than him. But would I have signed Nick Batum to that contract? Yes, I would have. Would I have signed Alan Crabb to that contract?
You
Yes,
would
I
have went to
would've.
bed that night, like, slept like a baby.
I would have slept like a baby with my guy who's giving me 16, 6, and 6 coming off a prime season. And there were some red flags. The three-point shot was a little sus. The work ethic was a little sus. But this guy was giving you a stat stuffing performance for the last couple of seasons. I would have signed him to the deal, and I'm still holding the stock.
And it's come back
Fantastic.
around for you. We have gotten way off the rails, even before the Sixers, even before we start. The Sixers lost 3 games in a row, and they came back tonight. They played well. They almost blew a big lead. Embiid had to play like 40 minutes. It was crazy, but they did come back, and that does just, they did win. They closed the door. But that 3-game losing streak, man, let's talk about it. Let's dive into it.
Let me just give you some thoughts on some of the games. Just jumping around a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the main talking points right now regarding the Sixers, not shooting enough threes. Right, they're attempting 24 threes a game. That's dead last as of yesterday. And the question is, how are they going to manufacture more threes? And what I saw in the Phoenix game was Tobias Harris twice on pick and roll, pulling up and knocking down threes.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like an aberration. I was like, this doesn't happen. I was like, that's not something that I normally see. And because you're watching the game and you're kind of just, you're not paying that close attention every possession. And it seems so effortless, so smooth. And it just seems like so rare. You never see that. I mean, especially pull-up threes. And, that kind of segues into the other main talking point. Other than how do you manufacture threes and them not shooting enough threes, it's which type of target do you need to get in order to get that number up and to help this team at its biggest weakness? Do you want to have a guard that can shoot in a DeLon Wright, or do you need that stretch 4 or 5 and Bezlika from Sacramento? That's kind of, it seems like, obviously you need both, right? But does having a guy who is more of a chucker but a good passer kind of make your other bigs and your other wings and Matisse and Dwight serviceable playing with Ben Simmons?
I think it absolutely does, but and you're right on the money with the 3-point shot. It's everyone's talking about it. It's the big story of the week. Like, they aren't shooting enough. Only 26 threes tonight. I think they, like, over the 3 losses, teams like made like 40 more threes than them over the 3 games. That's like, you're not going to win. That's just bad math, right? And it's interesting that like Daryl Morey is the GM. Like, what does he think about that? Like, we look at it like Twitter heads, like, and we go crazy, like, oh, not enough threes. What is Daryl Morey, like, the poster child for the NBA 3-point movement with Steph Curry? He's, it's them too. What does he think about that? And I gotta believe that
I'm
he's gonna do something.
I'm envisioning myself right now of a poster of like a movie promo-esque poster where it says Splash Bros and it's Steph Curry and Daryl Morey with like a headband and like a Tropic Thunder jersey on, and that's. Or not Tropic Thunder. What's the semi-pro?
Flint
team?
Tropics?
The Flint Tropics. Yeah, he has like a comically ridiculous jersey on, and those are the 2 faces of 3-point shooting, Cream.
Yeah, those are 2. Find the lie.
Daryl Morey, you're too vocal. You're too vocal on social media. This is all I care about. Jake sends me.
I haven't been seeing him lately.
I was disgusted. I have Jake sent. I'm not on Twitter. Okay, I'm not a Twitter head. Don't call me a Twitter head. You're a Twitter head. I am not. Daryl Morey calling out a specific Bill Simmons podcast that I have also listened to after Bill hates on the Celtics because they were like 13-13, and then gives his Ben Simmons All-Star / Defensive Player of the Year case. So Daryl quote tweets. I don't know what that is because I'm not on Twitter. But Daryl quote tweets the podcast post and says like, "This is the greatest podcast I've ever listened to by Bill Simmons." Blah blah blah. Like, he's laying out the case as to why Ben Simmons is like an all-world player. Daryl, stop personally investing yourself in these players. You almost traded this guy like a month ago.
You absolutely almost traded this guy.
You have
100%.
You
We're
have to
so close.
stay more detached, Daryl. I need you more detached than this. You're getting too invested. You're turning into Cream. He's turning into you, Cream.
I mean, that's not. Nobody wants that. That's not good for anybody. Like, that's not good for me. It's not good for him. It's not good for the Sixers. Nobody wants that less than me. So I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It is like, it speaks of a little bit of ridiculousness from Daryl Morey. Like, it doesn't, it's not consistent, right? But back to try to get back, right? You just take us on these tangents, man.
These are what I care about. You know, I float in and out of, you know, actual basketball, and then the rest of the time I'm living in, you know, outer space.
This world, man. Yeah, just this. Right. Do you have any actual takes on?
Look, I know you want to move on from this. I know you really do, but I got to jump in here too. Listen, if you want to like someone doing the rendition of the Sixers song, you know, if you want to like some cool analytical post, but stop with all this activity liking Matisse Thybulle's deflections per 36, man. We can all see it, man. We're all on the timeline, dude.
We can
see your likes now. Stop it.
We all see it. We see it all. Like, we're not missing anything that Daryl, like, illuminates. Sixers Twitter is very isolated. It's very insulated. Like, we're already seeing the Matisse Thybulle deflections per 36. Like, every night we see that. Look, we don't need him talking about it. We don't need him, you know, quote tweeting Bill Simmons. Like, we just don't need it.
He's officially leaned too much into it. And, like, we get it. You know, this dude wears big boy pants. Most of us can't relate to the type of swagger and confidence that he has. But, my guy, someone get in his ear, tell him to just pull it back a little bit. You know, can still be out there, but just pull it back a little bit.
Save it.
I'm trying to get in his ear. I'm trying to get in his ear, and it's just
that's
not
our
working.
quest. Yeah, our quest is to get Ray Styles in Daryl Morey's ear. That's our goal.
I would probably, if I really had that opportunity, I'd probably just grovel. I would probably just ask for a position of any kind.
Come on the podcast. How about that? Say that.
Or promote the podcast.
Yeah. He'll promote it. He'll listen. We'll mention Matisse Thybulle's deflections, and he'll be all over it. He probably listens. He probably listens right now. Probably listening right now.
Daryl, only tweet about this podcast and stop tweeting about everything else.
No other podcasts are allowed to be tweeted about.
I'll get back to the game here. So there's a mix. It's a mixed bag. Obviously the losses, you know, to like the Blazers were more disappointing. The Jazz game was one that felt much more inevitable. Like, I went into that having absolutely no confidence without Embiid that they were going to win. And no matter what, like, it was claw it down to 8, and then they go back up by 13. And then it was like claw it down to 8, and then they go back up by 13. It was like
that's how
it was, and it was the epitome. It was honestly, between Clarkson and Simmons, it was kind of the epitome of trading 2s for 3s. Like, it was Ben Simmons gets his 42 on, you know, layups and free throws and little turnarounds and stuff, and then Clarkson comes right back down and hits a 3. And the game was just kind of loose for me to watch, I guess you would say, because it was like, I'm just going to take in like what I'm enjoying from seeing out of this, knowing full well they're never going to pull it within 5.
Right. No, I totally agree. The way the Jazz have been playing, like the way that they've optimized their team, we were never gonna, without Embiid, like we don't win those games. But it was nice to see Ben, you know, turn it on, and it was nice to see that kind of switch flipping, for lack of a better cliche. And it was good, and it was a good measuring stick game, kind of to see how far we are without Embiid. Is there any long-term things you take out of these 3 games other than obviously the lack of 3-point shooting? And I think the need for bench reinforcements was made pretty clear. Hopefully Shake comes back soon and he can be the guy he was earlier in the season. But outside of him, in terms of offensive production, it's very shaky. Oh God, I apologize for that pun. It's not good. The bench.
I would say that what jumped out to me, these games are somewhat close, at least, Portland and, this game you did pull it to within 5, in the second half, and there was a chance. But what I would say is, Ben Simmons goes off. Imagine, just quickly visualize that shot chart for Ben Simmons in that game. Just nothing that's not, 8 feet away or closer. But still, first 40-point one for him, which was cool. But he puts up 42. Tobias puts up 36. And you get nothing reliable from anywhere else. And the question that we are faced with is, does Shake Milton plug the hole in these close games in a fourth quarter setting where you're within striking distance and you have Tobias and Ben playing well? You need another guy to step up that can be a threat, that can create a little bit, put it on the floor, pull up off the dribble. Is Shake Milton that guy? That's kind of, as funny as it is, that's really where we're at. Because if he's not, you got to make a move.
Right. What do you think, Ray?
I'm willing to ride it out a little longer. You have enough time.
Yeah.
I was the one on this podcast who had no idea the trade deadline was still far away.
Yeah.
I think
I still a month away, I think.
Yeah. So you have until March. I am a little less trigger happy in terms of pulling off a deal. I think it's going to be something that you can give yourself a little bit more time. Either A, for Shake to get back, or C, I don't want to really actually depend on Maxey at all in the playoffs, but I guess you can see how things progress, especially with Seth kind of seemingly tonight coming back around into form. He, since his illness, has had pretty understandably slow adjustment back into full speed games, and hasn't really been popping off with the same efficiency he was in the first month of the season. But between
we've seen those negative impacts for other players who've dealt with COVID. Jason Tatum has struggled, I think. He's talked about it, feeling fatigue, earlier in games when he's not used to feeling it. It is real that it's not just making excuses for Seth. He is dealing with something serious there. So I agree with you there. Sorry, just to continue.
So between him coming back to early season form and Shake hopefully coming back soon-ish, I think you can give your team more time to kind of evaluate before having to make a deal. Obviously, I mean, if you want to nibble around the edges and get somebody who's just older than Tyrese to be guard number 3, but I don't think you need to kind of gun for, a George Hill or someone who's going to cost you legitimate assets quite yet.
Interesting. Yeah, and part of this season, this stopping start season kind of thing, and the effects of it is the Sixers, pretty much every other team in the NBA, are not getting consistent playing time with everybody. Guys are missing 3 games here, 4 games there, up and down the roster, and that's everybody. So I think a lot of teams are still in the feeling out process, and so there is a bit of credence to the slow your roll in the trades talks. I know everybody loves that. We all love that stuff, and that's why we're kind of pushing it. And it feels like it should be time because this is when the usual trade deadline stuff comes up. But I think you're probably right in that we do have some space to experiment, and with the rest of the teams in the East being trash, we're still in first place. We're still 2 games up on Brooklyn. which is ridiculous.
I'm kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked by Milwaukee, man. How are
Yeah.
they only 4 games over 500? This is gotta be. I mean, you guys are the mid 2000s Colts. Like you guys are supposed to be the regular season team
Right.
with the big stats MVP that fails in the
Right.
playoffs. Like you guys are supposed to do that.
And now they're not even doing
Now
that.
you're not
but-
even doing that. You're not even like 2002 Peyton Manning. Like what's going on here? The Bucks completely underperforming. The
Yeah.
Celtics, another piece of this Bill Simmons pod, the legendary Daryl Morey Bill Simmons
the
pod.
best podcast of all time.
The greatest
like-
pod of all time was Bill cobbling together Vucevic deals with a mid-level exception because I think they have about, in not getting anything back for Hayward, they have like $8 million, so they only have to match like 16 or something to afford Vucevic. So he's like, Langford, maybe a first, and who's like Daniel Tice or something to get Vucevic.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I think, yeah.
Cobbling Tristan Thompson, cobbling a deal together to try and swindle Vucevic, which I agree, the Magic probably should be moving him, and
They're not going to move him. There's no way that Vucevic is getting traded. He's all they have. He's the only player on the roster left, as far as I can tell, that isn't injured. Him and Evan Fournier. The Magic are going to hold on to him like he's gold. But they probably should move off of him.
I mean,
And
he's
Boston
the only big deal that's been successful for them. Like they signed him to that $100 million plus, and
he's been still productive. Yeah.
I mean, and he had a Batum-esque season where it was like his points went up by like 6 points per game, like the year before his deal was up, and it was like, okay, is he going to get paid and then fall off? He's been equally as good and is totally worth $25 million a year, and
100%.
would be a great asset for Boston. But like, they are the team that swept you last year, and they're trying to cobble together a deal for him at 14-14, and the Bucks just traded 3 first-round picks to be 4 games over 500. You can hold on a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Jake.
I'm going to try to cool it on the Bucks. I think without Drew Holiday, he's been missing such a big piece there. And like when we're talking playoffs, different sports, not as many ticky-tack fouls, matchups, really scouting specific weaknesses. So I think that Bucks lineup is going to be a problem. And hey, man, it is important we get that 1 seed, so we only have to face either Brooklyn or Milwaukee. It would be huge to only have to go through one of them, and then we have a real chance to get to the finals and have me cash in on some wagers.
I'm trying to get paid, bro.
Get paid to play.
I'm trying to get paid like Fernando Tatis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, did you guys see that?
14 years, boy.
Quick pivot to baseball. 14
Hardball.
years. Dude, that's crazy. 300 and what, like 40 million for a 14 year. Ronald Acuna has got to be pissed. I don't know.
As if he would. What did he get, like 120?
He signed a year ago. He signed an 8-year 100, and he had a 40-40, like 40 bombs, 40 steal season, like right before signing that. He should be firing his agent right now. And
yeah, sure.
Like they are essentially equal level like assets in my mind. Like those two and Juan Soto are kind of like the 3 like big next gen guys, and you're sitting there on that 8-year 100. I mean, obviously he's living the life, but like, dude, the difference in that Tatis contract is crazy. Like that is such a bombshell.
Mm-hmm. It's monstrous. I agree.
And Soto's like probably better than either of them. So his payday just went through.
Yeah, he'll get 400, I imagine.
Hey man, you see what's happening? You see what's happening with these soccer players, bro? Like, I mean, you see how much money they're making. Where baseball's the one sport where like that doesn't even translate. You would think that like the NBA, like the top stars in the NBA would be like they should be making with how much they generate, with how much revenue. But here baseball is giving out these 300 plus million deals. Like, yo, check it out, fully guaranteed. What's up? Fucking least physically taxing of any of the sports where you're getting this money, like cashing out. Jesus.
I mean, they do have. He does have to just live. You know, he just have to stay there for like 14 years. You know,
San Diego.
That's a long amount of time. I mean, San Diego is a great place. I would sign up. I'm not saying I wouldn't sign up. I'm saying, you know, there's a little bit of a 14 years is a long time.
I would sign the deal.
I would
like
not
having the flexibility to maybe jump into a championship roster at the waning years where you can still be productive.
Okay, let me lay out a scenario for you. I'm gonna go to Jacob Klein, and I want your real answer on this. Somebody is offering you. We're gonna put this in more relative terms because that money is too ridiculous.
Yeah,
Jake,
it's monopoly money.
Jake, let's say somebody is offering you $340,000 to oblige you to podcast 2 hour-plus long podcasts a week with Cream for the next 14 years. You can never do anything less than 2, and they both have to be over an hour every week for 14 years. Never miss a week. $340,000.
I'd be insulted if you said no. I'd be insulted.
What's your answer?
Our friendship would
because it's not just like can you stand Cream? That's obviously the primary factor. The secondary factor is like time. Like we have trouble finding time right now sometimes. So like doing 2 hour plus, you got to do it. What's your
honestly, the fact that you're not making each episode a minimum of 2 hours each, that's where I thought you were going. 1 hour, quick, get out of there. 2 hours a week with Creamy, and I'm living a sweet. I'm at a new tax bracket, boy.
Is he living? He still gets to live where he lives. He doesn't.
I'm moving out. Anymore. Cream.
It's per year. Salary? It's per year that payment. You know, it's not like a chunk of 340. It's
per month, per 12, divide by 12, and then bi-weekly or whatever. That's a lot more than I'm making now. So we're going to go ahead and do that and then not have a regular job and just spend all my time just coming up with...
You're getting paid $24K a year to do them Creamy podcasts.
Yeah, I think that's worth it. That's solid income.
Cream, what's your answer? Do you accept the deal?
I accept that. Yeah. I think we could. I mean, we would do what, Jake? Like a TV podcast? We wouldn't. Be all sports.
Correct.
We'd mix it up. You know, we'd do movies, pop culture. We could get probably 3 episodes out of just Ex Machina, right?
That's right.
We get 3 hours out of that. I think. Jake's love of Ex Machina. I feel good about that. Yeah. My
love of racquetball. Yeah, there's a lot there.
So you need. Yeah, I just did the math. So you would need. 1,456 episodes.
God,
that's what we're on track for the AJ to have. So I mean, I'm fine with it. Yeah, I signed up for the contract. So yeah.
Jake, this leads us into your section. Before we do that, do we have... I know I took us completely off track about 4 times this episode. Got into that baseball money. Got into that Cream podcast money.
Yeah.
Got away from the NBA. Got away from Vucevic. I can't even bring us back to where we were before that. We got away from the team that we're supposed to be talking about. Do we have anything else to say of substance? They won the night against the Rockets. Anything we need to wrap this up before we move on to our final segment?
I think it's obviously something to monitor with Joel's back because there were points tonight that he was definitely laboring, and it's an indictment on the team. I think that they weren't able to sit him for the fourth quarter. He had to come back out and play like an extra 8 minutes because we can't hold a 20-point lead or whatever. That's going to be something that is definitely we're going to have to monitor, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck. He's going to miss games with this issue. It seems like that back still seems to be bothering him a little bit.
Joel is should be and is the only deserving all-star on this team, and I hope he does not play in the game. And all-star break is coming, and it's only, hearing this on another pod, like we're like not even 40% of the way through the season, and a lot can still change. We'll see. Right. We'll see if teams like the Jazz can maintain. We'll see if teams like the Heat, cannot get there. A lot will be borne out. But Joel Embiid, another year being an all-star starter. He's our stud. He's the MVP. And I just love him so much.
All right. Jake, you have some questions to lay out for us?
I do. It's been a while since we've had this segment, but I'm glad to bring it back.
You may have to remind people like this was a segment at one point.
This was a segment.
So Jake had the bull by the horns. We, as a pod, despite paying him $24K a year, still allowed him to run his own segment, and he completely relegated the responsibility and has slowly
for like months has not come up with any questions.
Yeah, he despite lucrative compensation, he hasn't come with any material. And Kareem, I don't know how we haven't turned off the faucet at this point. Why we're still paying him?
Well, I mean, I'm curious to see what he's come up with. I am curious. It's been hit or miss in the past, but we've gotten some gems out of this segment. Let's not,
we're like two rich Wall Street dads that forgot our kid was in college for like three extra years.
Yeah, we're just paying those checks.
Paying that tuition, baby.
Always felt supported, at least financially, in these endeavors. So thank you for that confidence, that vote of confidence. Let's dive in here, fellas. The first question is gonna maybe get you a little riled up, maybe get the sauce flowing. Guys, what would hurt more? Carson Wentz winning a Super Bowl with another team, or Ben Simmons winning an NBA championship with another team? Which would hurt more?
Benny Simmons.
Because Ben Simmons is in many other parallel timelines, he's gone. And the whole era and our perception of him and how he's always, so frustrating and, then the hit pieces come out. But Ben Simmons going to another team and winning versus Carson Wentz. How do we feel about both?
Benny Sims, because that means somebody else figured it out. Wentz, man, he can go do whatever. He's a bad teammate. I've made my judgment on it. No, he
out. He's out.
No. I've spent way less of my brain power on Wentz. I've spent way less of my time on Wentz, and I didn't go through a 10-72 season for Wentz. Like the Ben Simmons alternative means because he is frustrating and he is flawed, and that means somebody other than Daryl Morey was able to figure out something that he couldn't, and that would be pretty disappointing.
That'd be frustrating. We had him, and we kind of. I agree. I think there's more invested in Ben Simmons than there is Carson Wentz. It feels weird to say that, given how we value the quarterback position in sports, but I think it's true, and he's such a polarizing player. I've been on both sides of the argument so many goddamn times, that it just blurs after a while, and you forget which side you're arguing sometimes. But it would be pretty devastating if he took the next step with another team. That would be frustrating. Yeah. So that's my answer. It's a good question.
Some insightful answers, some great responses there, fellas. Jeez, I mean, why did we get rid of the segment? Fuck. Shit.
Shut up.
Fellas, we're going way off the tracks here because that's the nature of the beast. And the second question is, and don't Google it, what is the average age of someone serving in Congress right now? What is the average age? You just have to guess a number.
Ray, do you have a guess? I have a guess.
56.
I think it's like 63.
Oh, Creamy, almost hit it. That would be 62 years of age is the average for
That's
someone
pretty
serving in our...
So Cream and I will call it even. We're both close.
Both good guesses, yeah. You guys are on it tonight, but geez, dude, like think about like just being that old and having such an important...
Don't say that, man. Don't say that.
Dude, 62.
What are you talking about, man? I wholeheartedly plan on being able to make very sane decisions in my early 60s.
It was a very attainable goal, Jake. Like,
I'm saying, if you'd let me finish, I'm saying at that, and I'm still going to say it, advanced age,
okay,
having a position that is probably your life's work, you kind of like your peak, and to need to operate at the highest possible level and to need to be on it and to make every right decision, it's just something to contemplate being that old. And if anything, it is a proponent, an argument, an advocate for your argument that 62 is the new 45. So I would say that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have no interest. I have no plans of being senile by that point. So I'm hoping. I even reach the opportunity. I would say this too. Is it skewing younger? I feel like it is. I feel like the average age has come down a little bit.
The House is definitely younger than the Senate. I think the Senate might even be older than that because I think the House is a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Jake probably doesn't have these numbers in front of him, so we won't put you on the spot like that. But I feel like you're right, Ray, and I probably is running a little bit younger, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah, it's definitely where we're trending, and that's also something that was borne out in the data in terms of young people turning out to vote this past the cycle, which was great, and kind of that narrative. Kind of, if you look at the facts, which is not something that everybody does, it does show that there was higher turnout, and that was obviously a difference maker. Last question here. We're gonna sneak out of here, fellas. What is your go-to beer? Your go-to drink that is not a light beer? Can't be Coors Light, Miller Lite, Natty Light. Can't be any of that trash. Give me your go-to beer in the summer, hanging out on the classic, Westchester boys trip, meeting up. What beer are you grabbing for the adventure?
Rolling
Rock.
Rock.
I'll let you go. Rolling Rock. That's a good one.
Always have it around. Extremely cheap. I like the taste. It's not too watery like a lot of those light beers, as you would say. Drank one 2 days ago.
Nice. My go-to, and you can't always get it in the winter. It's a summer beer. It's a little clownish. I'll accept a little bit of teasing.
Oh man,
It's Land Shark, man. I love it. I fucking love Land Shark. It tastes so good to me. It's like perfect summer beer.
I thought you were gonna say Shock Top. I thought you were gonna say
Shock Top. No, I mean, I feel like they're definitely like Shock Top is definitely like the fraternal cousin. Like it's definitely a twisted sister of Land Shark. But Land Shark, man, for me, 100%.
Cream, I think we're all just relieved that you didn't say Mike's Harder. Mike's Harder Lemonade. So I think we're all just happy that that's not what happened there.
So I've caught flack for the Rolling Rock life, man.
It's tough out here.
Somebody, I remember like around Christmas time or something, we were doing like a gift swap, and somebody I work with was like, I'll get you some alcohol. Like, what do you like? Like, what do you want? I was like, I don't know, man. I usually just end up drinking Rolling Rock, and they were like, "I'm not buying that for you. Give me a different thing to get for you, because I am not. I'm not
Totally.
making that your gift." Like they just refused. They were like, "That's not good enough. Like it's got to be something better. It's got to
Yeah,
be something
yeah.
better." So, I still have a ways to go in my evolution. Maybe by the time I'm 62, I'll have acquired a better palate.
Just drinking Rolling Rocks at 62. That's what got you there.
Honestly, hopefully so.
To each their own. Well, thanks for
Jake, what's your
participating.
answer? Jake, did you lay one out?
I'd probably go Blue Moon. Love Blue Moon in the summer.
Yeah, I feel that.
Me and Bill Simmons, when we're hanging out, we love drinking Blue Moon, talking about how shitty Boston teams are.
Me and Bill Simmons. What would we do together? I would say I just watched. I just listened to the rewatchables on The Martian because I just watched it in the past week. I'd seen it before, but I forgot pretty much
Love
like
that movie.
85% of it. Really great, man. So fulfilling by the end of the movie.
Satisfying.
You guys ever read the book? I like that.
No.
It's pretty good too.
So I'll lay it out. That's my movie rec. Hit up The Martian, even though
Nice.
pretty much
very
everybody has seen
famous. Very famous movie.
it. Yeah, everyone's gonna have seen it. All right, this was a mess. This is a mess of a podcast. It's my fault. If you're still listening, man, whoa.
He says.
Whoa.
Not a way. Thank you if you're still listening. How about that? How about just say thank you?
Total train wreck. Thank you all for listening. Have a good one. Bye.